Welcome to the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Here we chat to some of today's best small business leaders, individuals who are shaking up their industry and dominating their niche. The show tackles all things business growth, from strategy, marketing and branding, and delves into the secrets of what it takes to dominate your niche. The aim of this podcast is to empower founders with big dreams, small and micro businesses, and even solopreneurs who are looking to make a big impact. People who are hungry to learn from those who have gone before them and implement that knowledge to next level in their own business. So welcome, lean in, and then go take action to propel yourself towards dominating your niche in your small business. Welcome to the latest episode of the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Elliot Kay, a renowned expert in impactful leadership communication, empowering leaders and organizations to transform their communication strategies into tools for innovation, alignment, and sustained growth. Drawing from his extensive experience as a speaker, trainer, and author, Elliot provides a roadmap for leaders to master communication that clarifies purpose, energizes teams, and drives lasting success. His approach is not just about delivering a message, but about creating a memorable and transformative experience. Key themes from our conversation include overcoming dyslexia and finding ways to communicate. What is the one thing you do in your business that unifies everything? Seeking out honest and sometimes harsh feedback, owning a small chunk of the customer's journey, and setting boundaries. A gorgeous, insightful conversation. I cannot wait for you to listen. Hi, Elliot. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It is absolutely my pleasure. So, Elliot, you are renowned as a leadership communication expert, but you didn't start life here,
No.
business life. So what I'd love to know is a little bit about your journey and how did you end up where you are today?
I love that question. I'll give you the summarized version because otherwise this podcast could go on for a while.
I know.
I think a lot of it kind of indirectly started, I grew up, I am dyslexic. It's not like I overcome dyslexia. Because I go, oh, I was dyslexic sometimes. No, I'm still dyslexic. And I think from a very young age, I learned I had to communicate differently to be taken in any way seriously. So the typical form of communication, reading, writing for me wasn't available. So I learned very quickly to verbalize communication, right? And to find ways to communicate. I wasn't very good at it throughout school. I was very disruptive. I found myself at uni, even though I had very bad grades, results, etc. And then I think the key tipping point for me was when I found myself, I used to be a professional dancer as well. That's another story. And then I found myself into training. And I think that's where I really started to boom as an expert communicator, because not only would I design training for really big brands in the UK, but they would put me in as part of the pitch. So I had to very quickly communicate my value, why I should be part of these big, like £1 million pluses, £50 million contracts. And so I did that. And then after that is when I found myself into coaching, found myself into strategy, launched what is now Speaker Express, used to be Pony Speakers Express, which has now led to me having over a decade in speaking and the Speaker Awards and the Speaker Summit. So that's the very kind of shortened version. Although being dyslexic, so I have written 6 books. I've actually written 7, but one's sitting on my laptop unpublished.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the story behind that? When's that one coming out?
Oh, that's a good question. I always liken it to being a musician that's written an album, but it's not the time to release it. It's a bit like that with that book. I just don't know. I wrote it last year, 33,000 words. And then when it came to the crux of it, I was like, you know what? I don't want to publish this book. It's a very strange place.
Well, it's interesting as well because there's a lot of work. Like you write the book and a lot of people think that is the effort. But actually, and I hate to say this because one of my clients is publishing a book in like 2 weeks' time. That's when the effort starts, is getting it out there, getting it known. So you've got to be in the right place to have the time, the bandwidth to do that well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's like anything, it needs love, it needs attention, it needs energy. And I've got so much going on. Just last year didn't feel like the time to release it, and this year it's not feeling like the book to release. So I don't know if I'm going to write another book, but I'm okay right now with not having a publishing deadline. I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
I feel like 6 published books, like that's probably enough. Enough for a while.
Yeah, for the time being, I think you and my wife have been talking because that's what she says. She's like, "Come on, it's enough books now." But I think,
Yeah.
back to that kind of like, there's a part of me that just wants to show people that you can do it as a dyslexic. So there's part of me that going,
Mm.
no, I will write another book because I am dyslexic and I can
Yeah.
write books.
And
But
I'm
I
good
don't
at writing
think,
because I've read your books. Well,
oh, thank you.
well, not quite a full one. I've read a lot of one of them. I never quite get to the end of books at the moment, but it's still sitting on the ever increasing pile. And it was
Oh,
brilliant. And yeah,
thank
and I
you.
have to say, do you know I'm dyslexic as well?
I did not know that.
Not
There you
widely
go.
known, worked for one of the top UK law firms. To have to say, for any other dyslexics who are considering law as a career path, just don't do it to yourself. It was horrible. But I have to say, I think in many ways it's a superpower.
Yes,
Once you
it is.
tap into how does your brain work and what are you brilliant at, like I don't know if I'd be as good a coach if I wasn't dyslexic.
Maybe. You
Yeah,
never
who
know.
knows? Who knows? We'll never find
Yeah.
out. Amazing. So back to the questions I was meant to be asking you.
Yes, sorry.
What I would, I was the one that hijacks. How have you positioned yourself as one of the go-to experts within leadership communication?
Yeah. So we went through a whole journey of that last year. What happened was I rang a dear friend of mine who's also the ambassador of the Speaker Awards. And I was like, Maria, no one's booking me. And she said, well, Elliot, no one knows what to book you for because you do so many things. Those were her
It's
words,
tricky,
right?
tricky.
Yeah, because I have some, like, I've got a bunch of brands that I
Mm-hmm.
run. And that's when we started. And the questions, the key questions are for people listening is like, what is the one thing that unifies everything that you do, right? So I think,
Mm-hmm.
and that's key. So if you run multiple businesses and like, what's the one thing that unifies you? What's the one thing you stand out for? And then, of course, what are you known for? So when we started to look at those, I guess that's your three strategies that you might ask me about
Mm-hmm.
later, right? You know, when we did that, it's like, actually, Elliot, you're really known for your leadership communication style. And when I looked at that, and actually, who do I want to be known for? I was like, yes, that's me. And then we looked at how I deliver that, which is through the 12 archetypes and things like that. But that's where I stand. You know what? It's quite interesting, Ruth, because for years, people like going to the leadership space, going to the leadership space. I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't know. It's something about me resisted that, but I've been continuously being pulled into leadership. And when it became about leadership communication, impactfully, I was like, that's me. And that's how we arrived
Mm-hmm.
there. So it was a bit of a process. It took time and I kept pushing backwards and forwards. And then, of course, one of the key things, again, a strategy I suggest for everyone is I went to get very honest, harsh feedback from people to tell me, does
Mm-hmm.
this land?
Mm-hmm.
And
Where did you go for that?
I went to speaker bureaus, people I know in speaker bureaus. I was like, does this positioning work for you as a booker? Right.
Mm.
And I
So
got,
that's
yeah,
quite interesting because they're not quite the client, but they kind of are the client because they're the ones they've got to love what you do to put you in front of people.
they have to know how to sell you. They don't have
Yes.
to love what you do, but they have to know how to sell
Mm.
you. And
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
it's a slightly different take. And so I went to several of them and then I collated their feedback, and that's how I landed on impactful leadership communication. Because one person who's actually involved in the Speaker Awards this year, he said we met in Bristol and he
Hmm.
just went, Elliot, I don't understand what you do. What the term you're using doesn't mean anything to me. So then
Mm,
I don't know how to sell you.
yeah. And I have to say that's some of the best feedback that you can get is people saying, I don't get it.
Yeah,
This doesn't
exactly.
work.
Yeah,
And I actually, I mean, I posted about it today, like on LinkedIn. I was in a position where one of my clients
yeah,
who's launching a new venture, she'd got this branding that honestly she'd thought a lot about it. She was really invested in it, but it just was not going to land with the people she wanted to work with because it was really dull. And she's not dull, and those people aren't dull. And it's the same thing. You've got to get your messaging to speak directly to your target audience so that they're like, oh my God, this is the guy. He's the one we want.
right, right.
So
Exactly.
well done for getting that feedback because it's not easy.
It's not. And it actually, thanks to Dom, his name is, that kind of took it, that tipped it, right? So I got really, really well to a certain point, and then his feedback helped tip it. And since doing that, I've been taken on by, in the last 6 months, four I can think of top of my head bureaus. And it's very easy because
Mm,
I'll send them the information and they're like, sure, I'll add you to roster.
yeah, we can
And
sell
and that's
you.
key. Yeah,
Amazing. Well,
exactly.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So what have been the key strategies over the years that have helped you to grow? So before this last year of repositioning,
Yeah.
what strategies have you used to grow your business to get yourself visible?
Ooh, what strategy have I used to grow my business, or what strategy have I used to get visible? I think they're two separate things.
Well, tell me both then.
Okay. So I think strategically speaking, I've always looked for, okay, what is the problem I solve and who am I solving it for, right? Back to
Mm-hmm.
basics. And I think you can't over drill the basics, and I think people often jump over that. So
Mm-hmm.
if I look at all my brands, the idea is basically that I own a piece of the journey of the professional speaker. So
Mm-hmm.
what are the different parts of that? So if you could see in my not my dirty, sorry, my messy office, I'm supposed to say, is a little
Mm-hmm.
bit dirty, and I'll tell you why. It's because the kids were in here. Well, I had a birthday party this weekend, and the kids have
Happy
been in
birthday.
here. Thank you. And they decided to play schools here, so it's a bit dirty, but don't tell anyone. So if
Okay.
you look on my wall to my left, which you can't see, there's a whole map of the speaker's journey. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I've done strategically is try to own a part of that. So what is the problem in the different stages of a speaker's journey that I can solve? So that's a strategy for you, which I've
Mm-hmm.
looked at. And if you look at sort of the big group companies, they always own a small chunk of their customers' journey. So I've looked to emulate
Mm-hmm.
that. Although I haven't succeeded yet in building that group to the where I want it to be, I have underneath me five or six different brands that I run. So that's a strategy I've looked at. I've also looked at, of course, at things like acquisitions. When a company has the client, the customer that you want, can you buy them? And often you can get motivated sellers. So one of the brands I bought for £1, because they had my client, they had the product I wanted. So that's a strategy I look at as well. And then if you look at there's the key areas of strategy: sales, marketing, people, operations, right? And finance. So you look at those continuously, those key areas. Where am I performing? What can I do better? How can I streamline? I think there's a lot of work you do. How
Mm-hmm.
can I, create? And not all businesses are designed to scale, but I do definitely eventually, hopefully in the next 5 years, have scaled all my businesses to a point where I'm
Mm-hmm.
selling a group, right?
Ooh, so
Um,
you're thinking exit already.
yeah, I think at some point I will. As much as I love the industry, I've been doing it for a long time. Time is precious. I
Mm-hmm.
have two incredible kids. But yeah, I've always thought of sales, a performance business. And so those are some of the strategies. Now, visibility wise, this is why I think there's separate strategies.
Because you've
Visibility
got a
wise,
very strong personal brand and you are a
right,
speaker in your own right.
exactly. So I'm always thinking visibility. So obviously there's the consistency across, so where people find me on elliotkay.com, or they find me on LinkedIn, or they find me on a bureau. There has to be that consistency,
Mm-hmm.
right? My content, I think, you and I, we cross the pollination, of
Mm-hmm.
content. you know it's got to show me off, not in a show off way, but my expertise. It's got to show what
Mm-hmm.
I'm about, how I'm
Got to
about.
showcase your expertise.
Showcase, exactly, that's a better word.
Mm.
And then also, give my personality, the different parts of it. But also what's important is not just the content as such, but what it looks like, what it reads like. And that's why I like to give a lot of variety of different ways. So my visibility strategy, number one, is consistent, right? You
Mm-hmm.
got to be consistent, whether you
So
post twice a
and
week.
you mentioned you've got multiple brands, so you're consistent across all of the brands and every time you're showing up.
Yes, yes. And if not, I'm very quick to hopefully fix that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also streamlined the brands as well. I've pulled them in a lot. Some
Mm.
don't get any love, unfortunately, but they can sit in their own right. But,
Now, I was going to ask about that. So you've got five different brands
yeah, at
and
least
two small kids.
two
How
small
the
kids.
heck do you manage all of that? And I think you
Well,
said neglect, hopefully not to the kids.
yeah, I neglect the kids and I build the brands. No, no, no. So, um, it became apparent once the Speaker Awards grew and the Speaker Summit grew that it went very quickly from being a toddler that sat there nicely and slept for 6 months of the year
Mm-hmm.
to becoming this beast that needs our attention. The
Mm-hmm.
moment that happened, I had to decide.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of brands that sit there quietly, but because they're brands in their own rights and they're brands that I bought, they don't rely on me.
Okay.
So I can let them sit there.
Mm-hmm.
The other brands get attention as much as I can give them. I have definitely shifted how I manage my capacity in the last 2 years
Mm-hmm.
and got firmer with it, which is why I can sit, the brands like Rising Stars can just sit there and when I'm ready, I can pick it back up again. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good. Um,
Lovely.
so it really goes to where is the biggest commercial return and where
Mm-hmm.
demands most of my attention.
Okay. Very strategic way of making choices.
I try.
Love it. Are you ready to grow your business this year? Join me for Supercharge Your Month, a 60-minute clarity and strategy workshop to reflect, plan, and get super strategic to make your growth dreams a reality. The first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. for just £97, or free if it's your first time. My gift to you. Book on now via the show notes. See you there. So, you are one of the founders of the
Yep.
Speaker Awards. So, this is a fairly new, it's only 4 years old, and it's a very popular awards event. And am I right in thinking it's the only Speaker Awards in the UK? It's the only one I'm aware of.
It's the only publicly driven one. So
Okay.
a lot of memberships have their own speaker awards, like the PSA or
Mm-hmm.
training, but this is publicly recognized speaker
Okay.
awards. Yeah.
So, what was the inspiration to set it up? And how did you go about making it a success? And something that we touched on just before we came on this as well is in that team of you that set it up, there are several individuals that could be considered your competitors. So I'd
Yeah.
love to know, how the heck did this all come about? How did you all think this was a good idea? And how have you made it work when your niches are quite similar?
So remember I talked about owning a part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So on there is an awards company written down. And the inspiration behind that was after the pandemic, this is quite a while after the pandemic, I was like, wait a minute, there is no public body that recognizes speakers' hard work. There's loads of companies that have their own in-house ones, but there's nowhere where the public can apply and get recognized for that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thinking behind it. And I thought, well, if we do that, we can do a day training and then we do the awards in the evening. And so the way that came about is I turned around to Simone, the co-founder who runs, he's actually not a competitor in any way. He actually had invested in one of my companies. I said, look, I really
Okay.
think we should run an awards company.
Mm-hmm.
And he went, oh, Elliot, he slapped his head, one of your ideas, kind of thing, and, oh, no, not another one of your ideas. Because I come up with a lot of ideas for
Okay.
companies. And then he went, okay, I'm in, but you need a strong promotional partner. Who can that be? And I went,
Mm.
Rethink Press. So I turned to Joe and Lucy because I know they
Yeah.
have authors, right? So I have a lot of authors and authors speak.
Mm-hmm.
I turned around to Joe and Lucy and said, Lucy and Joe, I think you should be involved in the Speaker Awards. And they're like, really? Why is that? So I pitched to them and they went, you know what? We are in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she said, when have you booked the first Speaker Awards? Now keep in mind this was July
Mm-hmm.
2022. I'd booked the awards for November 2022.
Okay.
She
Nice. So
went,
some people, that's loads of time.
no, not for an awards, right? She went, oh my gosh, because she's involved in the Business Book Awards, which I'm
Okay.
involved in as well. And she went, the Business Book Awards, plan it a year in advance, Elliot. I don't think you're going to pull this off. And that was a typical watch me, but not in a
Mm.
horrible, angry way. I was like, okay, watch
Well,
me.
do you know what? I imagine anyone saying to you, like, Elliot, you can't do that. If there was ever any doubt, that doubt is off the table. And you're like, right, let's flipping do
Yeah, it's a
this.
little bit like that, but not in an angry, pissed off way, more in a
No.
like, so I did. I pulled it off, and she stood on stage, and I think it was 22nd. No, it was my daughter's birthday actually,
Oh,
which
awkward.
was very. I've
Did
never been living down, never lived down. The 18th of November,
did you
2023.
realize? You must have.
I
I really
on
hope you realized.
I didn't realize when I booked it. I only realized
Mm,
after I booked it, and it was too
yeah.
late.
Yeah. God, I
My
reckon you're
daughter,
still in the doghouse for that.
a little bit. She's
Yeah.
still,
4 years on, 4.5 years
yeah.
now.
She's
Yeah.
like, Daddy, you better not do it on my birthday again. So that's definitely scarred her. She's only 8. Oh dear.
Yeah,
Terrible
wow.
parent I am. But no, she stood on stage, Lucy, and she went, Elliot, I didn't think you'd pull it off, but you pulled it off. Well done. And they've been involved ever since.
Love it.
Um, and then
And
what
they're
happened?
they're a great partner actually because they've got connections to Daniel Priestley as well.
Correct.
So like
But
there's quite a high profile team going on here. Like there's some very
yeah,
well-known people in that room, in that
but
virtual.
he's not involved at all. I know he asks about it, but he's not in any way involved. He hasn't reached out, nor would he at this point. I don't
Mm,
think. Well, maybe when we start doing the Grove in the house and there's like 5 to 100 to 1,000 people, he might want to get involved. I don't know because I'm not Daniel. I know I've known Daniel for years, but yes, there is that network. But also, we knew the caliber of people that work with Rethink Press are
hmm.
quite high caliber, and we're
Yeah, I
absolutely
know a
right
few.
about
I
that.
know a few. Some really
Exactly.
solid individuals.
Yeah. And then what happened was after the first year, we asked Lavelda, Simone's wife, to MC the event because she does that.
Hmm.
And then basically, then Simone pitched why Lavelda should get involved in the business. And we're very grateful she did because she's very operational and neither Simone and I are. So she's the one that goes, well, what's the
Subtly
process for
put.
this? Yes. What's the process for this? So she got involved as a co-founder. So then there was
Love
five
it.
of us.
And would it be fair to say things became fractionally less chaotic at that point?
Ask Lavelda, she'll say no. She's probably worse. But ask myself and Simone, will say yes. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it
As
was
in the
definitely
chaos
nice.
got passed to someone else.
The chaos got managed better. Let's put it that
Love
way.
it. I love it. And I have to say, there are so many early stage businesses I know of that honestly they look like that swan, on the surface they're gliding effortlessly, and under the surface it is just chaos. There's
Yeah.
even an extra leg frantically paddling in there sometimes.
Yeah, I think most businesses are chaotic, even if
Yeah,
it's
mine
organized
mine
chaos.
definitely is. I've
Yeah.
definitely got that swan thing. Actually, I'm not sure I'm too good a swan. I let the chaos bubble over from time to time.
I do want to answer your second question to that point.
The competitors.
Yeah, so here's actually the good thing about the awards, by the way, it's a very disarming entity because whoever I approached, they're like, yeah, I mean, even if they consider
Mm,
themselves competitors to me as a speaker
mm-hmm,
trainer, they're like,
mm.
oh, sure, I'll get involved with the awards. And first of all, I don't mean this as a cheesy line. I do believe in collaborative. I
Yeah.
believe there's enough to go around. And so even though Lavelda and I technically, when we look at our speaking stuff, could compete,
Mm,
actually, I focus far more on delivery and a little bit of marketing. She focused on marketing. And even Maria Franzoni, technically our ambassador, could be a competitor to us both. We just don't see it that way because we
yeah.
understand we appeal to different people in
Mm-hmm,
different ways. Simone is nowhere competitive to either of us.
mm,
So, but even if there are elements, what we do, for example, when we shared the stage, we agreed that we won't be pitching something that conflicts or is
yeah.
competitive to the other person.
I love
That's
that.
how we manage it.
And I think that's a really refreshing viewpoint as well.
Yeah, it is. And it works because we're
Yeah.
very harmonious as a team,
Because
although we get stressed.
yeah, people always buy people.
Right.
And I reckon like I could be in a room with a different business coach, and different people within that room would, there's many people who would never work with me because firstly, I'm female. I do have some clients that really struggle to work with a woman. They've all been male. Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah. Some people think as well, I'm too young. Some
oh,
people think I'm too fun. Like they think business coaching needs to be spreadsheets and very formal. And actually, I know people that if you want to do your business coaching through spreadsheets, I can recommend people.
right.
But yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I love that. I love that there's always, you know, your tribe will find you. The people that are meant to
Yeah,
work with you will
absolutely.
gravitate towards you. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what is the one thing you wish you'd known before embarking on the Speaker Awards?
Hmm. I think the one thing I wish I'd known is how quickly it would grow and how demanding it would become. I honestly, in all honesty, because for the first 2 years, we would do it for 6 months, put it to bed for 6 months. But year three, it just erupted in a
Mm,
good way, in a good way.
mm,
So I wish I knew how demanding it would have become because then I probably would have not taken on the extra brands or, taken on all the
hmm.
extra bits and just created space. Now there is talk of me moving full time into the awards, like really
Wow.
becoming a full time employee of the awards
Hmm.
because we're also looking to go international now. So I've got
Mm,
the region,
so
I've got the
exciting.
place. Yeah,
I was just
really.
thinking, is Dubai the next one?
I cannot,
Oh,
we
sorry,
can all
sorry.
confirm such
Don't
deny
I
such
don't want to spread
accusations.
any rumors. Nothing's been
No,
said.
no,
Nothing's been
exactly. Nothing's
tested.
confirmed.
But you
I
have
shall
just
announce it.
a nice bit of winter sunshine. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly, is true, and maybe, maybe not. But
I can't wait to hear.
yes, I wish I just knew how demanding it would become more than anything, because everything else I can manage, I can handle, but the amount of time and demand, and I think I wish I knew operationally how much we needed to do. So thank you, Lavelda, for getting involved.
Lavelda, love it. I don't think I know her actually. I'm going to look her up after this because she sounds
You
like an
should.
absolute champ.
She is, she
So
is.
what's been your biggest learning then from setting up these awards?
Biggest learning is that there's a few. I think when you said that, the most thing that I can say is actually being yourself is the best thing you can ever be, right?
Mm,
Which isn't their you know, because when I think of the relationship I've built and how I get people involved and how people choose to get involved in the speaker world, be judges, I've only been myself. I have not tried to show up as anything. I know sometimes you could, and I met some of the most powerful bureaus in the UK. Like these are people that represent, prime ministers and people like that. And what they've always gravitated to is me as how I'm showing up and my vision for the industry. So the second thing is what's your vision for the industry? So I have a vision that helps standardize the industry, that will elevate the industry, and where people can get, they can have the spotlight shone on them. And so the biggest learning from that is, your vision doesn't need to be complicated or
mm,
really clever. It can actually be very simple.
mm.
Again,
I
people will
love
buy
that.
into that.
I love that. And I can see why everyone would get on board with that.
Yeah, I hope
So
so.
we talked a bit about books earlier.
Yes.
I would love to know what has been the one business or mindset book that you have read that has had the biggest impact on you.
Okay. So screw it, let's do it. Definitely. Richard Branson.
I have actually never heard of that book.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's a
I'm gonna
great book.
check that out. Screw it, let's do it. What was your biggest takeaway from that?
It's interesting because when you read it, you can kind of hear his voice, and I think the whole the biggest
Another
takeaway.
dyslexic.
Another dyslexic, right?
Love it.
Um, the takeaway from it, which has stuck with me, is like just don't make excuses, do it, and then find out, right? Which I know is very kind of like pimped around the personal development world, but it's true. It's like let's just do it. With the awards, it's like let's just do it. Oh, we want to do it. Let's just do it. And I very much have that
Mm-hmm.
approach. So for me, that's definitely one of the kind of blueprints for me, and it's definitely
Love
left a mark
it.
on me.
Love it. And tell me as well about habits. Do you have any daily habits that you think have helped you to get to where you are today?
Besides making coffee in the morning.
I mean, coffee's a given, isn't it? It's like a
Yes.
non-negotiable.
It's definitely non-negotiable, especially as we have our own grinder. We get the beans and smell
Ooh,
yummy.
sounds
No,
amazing.
yeah, none of this instant stuff. No, no. Sorry. So I think some of the habits I do is I definitely am strong with my boundaries. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's a habit or daily things I do is I always think what needs to be done,
Hmm.
and then I set the intention to do them. I don't have lists.
Hmm.
I don't, although sometimes I write things, very rarely.
Mm,
I don't have any list. I have intentions of what I want to achieve. Like today,
okay.
I want to
How
do
does that
this.
work out for you? Because I think if I had intentions rather than lists, my business would be fractionally more chaotic than it currently is.
It works. Honestly, I always
Yeah, I
find
love
that whatever
it.
intention I set, I achieve. So today I had to get a certain amount of emails sorted out for the awards and the
Hmm.
summit. I had to reach out to so many amount of people, and that happens. It happens.
Love
Even though I
it.
look at my calendar, go, oh my God, I'm so booked up today. Because the intention's there, you find the time, the energy, and the space,
Perfect.
right? Something I've reintegrated recently is every day taking 20 minutes to learn something. So I
What kind of
stop.
learning do you do?
So right now I'm listening to Dr. Joe Despienza. I'm probably not
Okay.
saying his last name right. But that's because actually one of my clients works with him very closely, and I'm hearing her work, and she's a doctor, former GP, and she now does his work, and she's got the science to back everything. He's very big on meditation, but how you approach it is very different.
Interesting.
Yeah, so now a daily habit is to learn something 20 minutes a day, whether it doesn't have
And are
to be
you
that.
literally sitting listening, or do you
Sit,
do that?
listen.
Because whenever I'm
No,
listening to podcasts, I'm multitasking
no,
because
exactly. I've stopped doing
primary
that.
carer of young kids, yeah,
Yeah.
20 minutes is a luxury I don't have. And
No, I
actually,
get that.
that leads us on to your kids are similar age to mine. You've also got fairly young kids, don't
Yeah,
you?
that's right.
How do you balance building your business alongside being present in your family's life? How does that work for you?
Strong boundaries. That's the
Love it.
key. So it's like I am everybody's and anybody's between 9:15 and 3,
Wow,
right?
that's a short working day.
It is. I'm seeing I get a lot done. Obviously, there are other days when if I need to work later, I will. But
Mm,
generally speaking, I squeeze everything between
that's
9:15 because often I'll do
amazing. So,
pick up
yeah, so you pick up most days.
most days and drop off. Yeah.
Love it.
Uh,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love it. I really look forward to it. Obviously, if I need, like today, for example, I'm doing a session till 4, the kids are going to be in after school club. But to answer your question, it's about boundaries. It literally, but even mind boundaries, right? So
Mm,
it's like after 7, I don't have my phone with me, which is probably why if you message me, you don't get a response. I just keep it
okay.
away from me, right? And
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
not,
did I did notice yesterday was Sunday and you didn't even see my message. I'm
Sundays
just
is
gonna
definitely,
I
which
love it. Oh
is a
my
no-no.
goodness. I could learn from that. I could
So
learn
it
a lot.
is the word is boundaries. Now you can make those boundaries what you want them to be, but
Mm,
you need to honor them,
love
right?
it.
And that's a
Love
key
it.
thing. And just one last thing, it's I believe in we own our time,
Mm-hmm.
not time owns us. So even when I feel a bit
Mm,
stressed out, things I go, wait a minute, I'm in charge of time. And I'm never late, by the way, anyway, touch wood.
mm.
But even that feeling inside of us, we're gonna be late. I learned this in what's it
Uh,
called?
yeah, I know the book.
You know the one I'm
I
talking
know the
about? The
one. I
Upper
can't remember
Limit?
what it's
No,
called.
the
Yeah,
Upper
The Upper
Limit.
Limit by Gay
Yeah.
Hendricks.
That's it. Read that book. That's another one talking about
Brilliant
books.
book.
That
Brilliant
shifted my
book.
whole relationship with time.
Yeah, I haven't had that shift yet, but I've read it. Maybe I'll listen back.
I
I've got
think
it
you
on
should
Audible. Yeah,
really focus on
maybe I'll
that
carve out my
chapter.
20 minutes. Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
So one final question.
Ooh.
If it's actually a two-parter and we're over time, but that's totally fine. Time fits with us. Um,
Exactly.
if Elliot 20 years ago could knock on the door and see you now, what would his reaction be?
If my 20 years ago knocks on sees me today,
Mm-hmm.
he'd probably say, damn, you put on weight. That's the first thing he was.
Was he still a dancer? Like a regular
He would have
dancer?
still been yeah. He would have just come out of dance school. So he'd be like, listen,
Okay.
man, that six pack. He'd show me his six pack and go,
Oh, wow.
this is what you had. Yeah. The other thing I think he would say is, I like what you've done. Well done.
Yeah. Well
I like what
done.
you've achieved. Who you've become, I think, is more important than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I
Love
like who
that.
you've become. So that's
I
what's
love
the
that.
second part?
And here's the second part. If you could give him some advice, yourself 20 years ago, what would it be?
So I would say save, save.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you save your money. Definitely something I don't regret, but if I could dial back, I would do. So,
Yeah. We
because I
learn,
did
don't
love
we?
touring, I did love that, and I literally would spend all my money on tour.
Yeah, we've all been young and stupid. I'm not calling
Exactly.
you stupid, but
Well, no, it
young
was. I look
Elliot
back, I'm
sounds
like,
fractionally more stupid than the Elliot I know today.
yeah, probably. But I used to get paid in cash, and it would be gone
Yeah.
anyway. So I'd say save as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd almost something I would definitely say to 20 years ago me is just remember you are part of this. You are part of this universe. You
Mm.
do belong. Because I went through years of not belonging. I didn't feel like
Mm-hmm.
I belonged anywhere. And obviously I've come through that now. And obviously I do belong and I am part of. But that's why I would
Mm.
tell him, I'm like, listen, you belong. You're a part. Trust the process. Believe in yourself. And that's what I would have said to him.
Gosh, that's really beautiful.
Thank
What a
you.
note to end on. I'm actually tearing up.
Mm.
Thank you. That was, yeah, what a stunning note to end on. Elliot, thank you so much. For our listeners who want to connect with you, where is the best place?
Best place is LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
So
Yeah,
look me
see you on
up.
there a lot.
Yeah, ELLIOTKAY, spelt the correct way, Elliot Kay.
Okay.
And then through my website, elliotkay.com, spelt the same way. I think that's the best way.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening today. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. Even better, come connect with me, Ruth Ferreira, on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to get to know you.